Extra Time, driven by Continental, April 4th, 2019. A big show. Steve Birnbaum from DC United will be on, talking LAFC and Wayne Rooney and babies.
That baby announcement, I have questions.
Hope we got permission.
Then we had Pablo Maurer on from The Athletic to talk about Lucho Acosta heading to Europe.
Will he stay? Will he go?
And 14-year European vet, RSL center back Nedum Onuoha comes in to talk to us a little bit about some of the issues we've seen around the world with racism in soccer.
Kick racism out of the game, everybody. Extra Time starts right now. Oh, from New York, you are listening to Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. I am Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, Susannah Collins, David Goss, Bobby Warshaw. What's up? Nice throwback t-shirt, Dave.
Thanks.
Yes, sir. The
For
old branding.
those not watching.
Do
YouTube,
we have
by
any
the way.
extras of those laying around?
Maybe.
Come on, guys.
Maybe what you got in your wallet.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Wow.
Just saying.
Wow.
Okay, we do have some extras. And by the way, if you're not aware, we are on YouTube. So head over to the MLS YouTube channel to check that out. Big show for you today. Steve Birnbaum from DC United will join us. Pablo Maurer will too. He works for The Athletic. He writes about DC. He knows a thing or two about these Lucho Acosta rumors that are going around. And Nedum Onuoha from RSL will join us for good and bad reasons. Want to chat with him. Unfortunately, racism in the game has reared its ugly head once again. We've got to discuss this with Nedum. He comes from a unique place of perspective on that. Biggest game of the weekend, guys. It's pretty obvious. It's DC-LAFC. It's the top of the East, top of the West, 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. You can watch it on Big Fox right after their Klassiker. Did I say that one right? Is that right? Yeah,
Bobby's the
Dortmund.
one who's fluent in German.
Dortmund, Bayern Munich. It's a big game right afterwards. Probably the biggest game so far of the MLS season between DC and LA. These games get you going early in the season, Bobby, or are you still kind of laying back in your chair, just trying not to get too excited?
For these teams at the top of the table, they do get me going because one of the bigger storylines that's going to develop, or specifically in the top of the West, will be the home seed in the single elimination game. I think for some of the teams that are fighting to just make the playoffs at all, they're more worried about process. They're not actually worried about scraping in yet. But for these teams that know they're going to make it and they're worried about getting first, second, third, or fourth, then these points matter. LAFC, Seattle, SKC specifically, maybe Dallas trying to get up there into that number one seed. So yes, Andrew, for these teams at the top, I do think it's more important than the teams that are going to try and scrape in at the end.
I actually love that call out, by the way, because it's easy to forget sometimes. I don't know if this happens to you guys. I'm so used to the two-leg. I'm so used to the playoffs being one way, and you're probably at home saying, oh, but they changed every year, but still the crux was the same. It's just a good reminder. Thank you, Bobby.
It is, and the other part about this that's exciting as a fan is you start the season and you're like, I can't wait to watch MLS, I can't wait to watch soccer, and everyone comes out, and then you remember like, oh, right, like half these teams have new coaches or full new rosters. These are two of the teams where it's mainly consistency from last year, and so they're playing some of the best, if not the best soccer in the league. So it's fun this is going to be, you said it, the best game because it's going to be one of the highest level ones. SKC LAFC had that as well for 45 minutes before it turned out SKC was playing in CCL and had to fly around the world all over the place, and they ran out of steam. So this, I think, from a pure soccer point of view of where they're at in their development and where these teams are at in terms of quality across the board, makes it one of the more fun games.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we don't get to see these teams play each other all the time. And so it's a really, really good gauge to see how they stack up. We talk so much about how the West is so strong. And it's like, well, this is the best team in the East. And so what could this MLS Cup matchup look like? And, are they on even keel right now?
And to add what Susannah just said about not playing each other often, East versus West, one of the cool things about East versus West games is that teams are more likely to go for the win. Because if you think about in conference, you're not just trying to play for the win, you're trying to make sure that the other team doesn't get the extra 2 points. So sometimes it's okay to play for the draw, but interconference, it doesn't matter. Like the difference between 1 point and 3 points is worth going for the win, considering you don't care if the other team ends up getting the 3 points. I didn't explain that well, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It makes a 6-pointer if you're in conference. Because the other team, that's exactly what you just said.
But no, because it's about going for. Sorry, I explained it poorly. But the fact is, between conferences, teams are more likely to go for it, more likely to play open games.
You're not giving away points potentially to a team that is in the same standing as you. Did I sum that up well?
Thank you.
Anytime you can watch Carlos Vela, you should do it. Anytime you can watch Wayne Rooney and Lucho Acosta, Lucharoo, as everyone should call them, you should do it. Before we talk to Steve Birnbaum, and he's about to be on the line with us, we got to talk about something else, which is baby announcements, perhaps when your spouse doesn't know. The politics are tricky. Did you get awkward? You guys are backing out of the conversation right now. Did it feel awkward to you? I was like, oh, Steve, I hope it's going to work out for you, man.
Well, I think I said this on Monday's show, but I didn't know my girlfriend knew what that meant. And I also didn't know she followed Steve Birnbaum, his girlfriend, every other MLS player's wife and girlfriend on Instagram as well. So she was locked in. We did a bunch of research to figure it out. But
AKA you trolled the gram.
The thing I found interesting was that, his wife put up an Instagram during warm-up or during the march out, which is 5 minutes before he scored the goal, and then went silent.
It's not a good sign. Not a good sign. No, I'm hoping that this wasn't like the ultimate reveal. Like this was like to like his mom and dad are watching and they're like, what? Like, for me, like this is a conversation that you need to have, with your spouse or
Bruised
partner.
Bruised feelings if that happens.
Yeah, let's make sure that we are on the same page here because it's, it can get ugly.
Family politics are fraught. Let's find out from Steve himself. He's on the line now. Steve, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. It feels good right now. What's going on, guys?
I bet it feels good. I'm the father of a 17-month-old. I know a little something about the politics behind a baby reveal. You put the ball underneath the shirt. You sent the message to the whole world. You said she might be mad at you. Well, is she mad at you?
No, she was extremely happy. She didn't actually know that it was going on. I think during the game, she's not really informed with the soccer, lingo or whatever. So she didn't really know what was going on. Then all of a sudden she started receiving a bunch of texts and phone calls saying that, oh my gosh, we didn't know you're pregnant. But it was something, it was kind of cool because, the day of the game, I usually call her before we leave the hotel, and she asked for me to go get a goal for her and the family. So, I felt like it was a nationally televised game, and, she asked for it, so I did it for her.
Okay, Steve, I gotta ask, had you already told close friends and family, or was this like the reveal to the entire world just happening at once?
No, we told our close friends and family.
Okay, good.
We've known for a little bit, and we're just getting now to that 12-week mark. So I figured, I don't score too often, so I had to do it. I was thinking about a celebration in the room with Wayne, and we talked about it, and he said, why not? Go for it.
Oh, so it's Wayne's fault. You're blaming Wayne Rooney for this.
Well, I'm just saying that we are in on it together, I guess.
Wow.
Listen, she can't get mad if Wayne Rooney says it.
That's a story for your kid for sure right now. What we got you? Any other announcements you'd like to make? Anything that's maybe like burning a hole in your conscience that you just need to get out there?
No. No, we're just really excited right now. It's a great time for our family, and obviously things are going well with soccer right now, so we're just really happy.
Did you get your goal steak? I've been told to ask you that by one Bobby Boswell.
You know what? I used to. That's true. I used to have a steak after every goal I scored when my mom came up to Berkeley when I scored. So, I actually did have a steak that night, but that was just through the team hotel.
What's your cut? What's your goal scoring cut?
I usually get a nice prime rib, but I didn't have any prime rib last night.
I just want you to know Bobby Warshaw has already checked out here. The Stanford grad is not loving the Berkeley reference. But look, we love the matchup this weekend. LAFC coming to the nation's capital, 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. The defense for you guys has been extremely good. Just one goal allowed, and that was against Orlando City. But here comes Carlos Vela. Here comes LAFC. Here comes the Supporters Shield leaders. What kind of test is this going to be?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest test so far. They're obviously, a great team, and they got a lot of firepower up front with all those guys, and they're really sound defensively as well. So it's just one of those games where we kind of have to focus on what we've been doing well and to dictate the game. We obviously want to continue having good defensive, structure, and I think that's not just the back line and Bill, but it's our whole team. I think you guys see it that, we have low to mid block defending, which has been crucial for us.
You talked about Weeby mentioned the hot start for LAFC. They're a Western Conference team. You don't see them that often. You two are two of the hottest starters. Is there any conversation, even though it's early in the year, about what type of message you send about potential supporter shield down the road?
No, it's not really. We haven't really discussed that. We know how good LAFC is, and we've obviously watched their games, and we've obviously started pretty well. So it's just one of those things where it's a cliche, but it's just next game up. So we're preparing the same way we have for the last couple games, and obviously we go over the tape and look at what they've done well and try to prevent what they're doing. So it's just the same way that we prepare for every game.
Now, we know Wayne Rooney as the DC club captain, but when Ben Olsen asked him to wear the armband, he came to you first. What was that conversation like for you as someone who had worn the armband for DC in the past?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's Wayne Rooney, and he, is recently with the team, and he was great just from the beginning, making his rounds with the guys and creating a special relationship with everyone. And Wayne and I have a good relationship. We roomed on the road together, and we hang out and play golf off the field. So it was, I kind of expected it, to be honest, once, they signed him and been captain for, England and Manchester United. So I wasn't like blown away or shocked by it. And to be fair, I also wasn't the captain that year that he came up to me. We hadn't had a captain. So it was one of those things where, I was like, I think your word's going to hold more, towards all the players around the locker room, and everyone respects you. And, we just want to win. That's the consensus. And I feel as though I'm a leader from the back and he's a leader from the front. So it's a good dynamic that we have.
Bigger duffer on the golf course, you or Wayne Rooney?
Bigger duffer?
who's
I'm not gonna name names right now.
Okay.
I'm not naming names.
How's his game compared to yours?
It's good. I mean, we're pretty similar. We're both in the team's handicap. So, but you know how golf is; it fluctuates. We could shoot low 80s or high 90s. So it's one of those things.
I'll be real. I have zero idea what you guys are talking about at this
I'll
point.
explain to you later, Dave.
Moving on here, though, let's stick with Rooney. How has he changed this club? Because we saw Drogba in Montreal. We saw Henry back in the day with Red Bulls. And, of course, Beckham and Keane. These characters seem to change the nature of franchises. You've been there for a while. How's Rooney changed things?
He's changed everything. I think he's changed the culture of this club. Obviously, Audi Field was a big change to our team, and that happened at the same time when Wayne came in. So he's been great. I mean, just the work ethic that he puts in practice, and obviously you guys see it in the games, but he's the type of guy that just wants to win at all costs, and you see that every game, and guys want to play for him. And, they want to play to, show him that they're putting in the work just the same the way he is, or, he wants to defend, and he has no problem defending. He has no problem sitting in a low block and going on the counter. So it's a great luxury to have him on our team, and I think we know how lucky we are to have him. And, it's just changed the way that we have this kind of confidence or swag going into games because of him.
Steve, I want to ask you about Lucho. That's one of our favorite topics here at MLS. We can't get enough of it. It has been spectacular to watch the connection between those two. What is that relationship like from your perspective, and why does it work so well?
Gosh, it's pretty amazing to watch, even just, in the games when we're on the break and they just kind of know where each other are when they're not even looking. So it just happened so quickly and so organic that we were all kind of shocked how quick they picked up each other. The Lucho will just slap a ball at Wayne and just run off of him, and Wayne finds it, and it's almost impossible to defend. We try to defend it every practice, and it's really hard. So we can see how hard teams struggle to defend them, and they both have different types of qualities that it's hard to match up against. So, and they each bring, I guess, a focus on one of them. You can't let the other one be unmarked. So it's a great luxury for us to have, and it's really enjoyable to watch from the back. And, sometimes I kind of get lulled to sleep by how much they have the ball and just possess it up there.
Steve, obviously the questions about Lucho's future are ones for Dave Casper in the front office. But that move to PSG in preseason, the one that will he, won't he, and it's back and forth, and Lucho felt that so acutely, and you guys witnessed it down there in preseason. I remember a quote from Wayne about what it was like to see that happening. What was it like for you, a guy in Lucho that's been there for a long time with you? Yeah,
it's obviously been great to see how far he's come in the time that, we've been together and that he's been at DC. And he was, if I was in issues, I'd be devastated, but he came back and wanted to get right back with the team, and we welcomed him back with open arms. We didn't want him to leave, to be honest. And just the way that he came back and the work ethic he put in back in preseason was amazing, and you can see it continuing this year. And so, everyone felt bad for him because that's a life-changing move, and that's something everyone dreams about. So you feel for him, but that something's going to come in the future, either it be here with DC or, where somewhere else.
So you mentioned Rooney changed this culture of this club. You also mentioned Audi Field. You've had some time now to get used to it, to get comfortable. What's been your favorite game day experience? What's your favorite little piece of Audi Field?
I love walking up the steps from the locker room and then just having the fans there and all our supporters just cheering us and just the whole atmosphere of Audi Field. It's just something that I've never personally experienced as having a home field advantage since we've been at, RFK. It's just a lot different, and I think you obviously see that home field advantage is a major factor in MLS. It's just, it's one of the biggest things in our league right now. So to have Audi Field be, there for us, and we're just really excited, and I love going to the fans after the game and cheering with them.
Best RFK story: wildlife, concrete, something weird in the tunnels. Come on, man. Statute of limitations is over. We can hear the good stuff. What was your best?
The best one, I think, was we were playing Red Bull, and it started raining. And, it started raining really hard. And I've never played in the game. We kind of they had to pause the game because I think there was lightning, but it was pouring rain. And we get back into the locker room, and then all of a sudden we're just kind of here, oh my God, things are flooding. And the tunnel to get back out to the field was completely flooded, head high, I would have drowned, if I didn't to walk under the stairs, and things were flooded, and they had to call the game because the field was flooded too, and there was just we couldn't even get out to the field if we wanted to. So they called the game, and then the next day we had to resume it, which was kind of something wild that I've never been a part of. And that's just one of the stories from RFK, along with the cockroaches in the showers with us.
Steve, there's one question I really want to get in because you are a specialist at this on the field, and I want to hear what advice you would give to young players or to coaches or to any young pros even. Your ability in the air, it might be the best in Major League Soccer. Do you have any hints or tips? What about that makes you so good?
It's funny because someone asked me about that the other day, and I'm sure he won't remember, but when I was a kid and I played at Irvine Strikers, Brian McBride came out and taught us how to head a ball. And I kind of took to it, and that's kind of all I did since I was 9 or 10 years old. And it just stuck to me, and I was when I played basketball, it was always about rebounding, and I think it was just about timing more than anything. And, I just really enjoy it. I don't know why. It's just something that I've kind of learned to love over the years, and obviously scoring, that's the only way that I'll be able to score for the most part is on corner kicks and stuff. So, I don't know. I think it's mostly timing and just knowing how to go up and attack the ball.
Steve, now that you're having your first kid, you got to take the Brian McBride ring kiss for the family every time you score.
I guess I might. Maybe I'll throw that in there. I'm not much of a celebrator guy. That was kind of a one-off thing.
No, don't lie. It's your new thing now.
Just ask Wayne. Just ask Wayne. He'll guide you the right way. Before we let you go, every time I come to training, I want to ask somebody this, and I don't do it, and I'm doing it now. Ben Olsen, as a soccer player, right now in this moment, still got it or washed?
Still got it.
Still got it.
You can see it. He still wishes he was out there, but he can't move. He can't move that much with his ankles, but when he gets in the grid with 5v2, he's still got it. He's got a phenomenal touch.
You can see he wants to be out there. He will, I'm sure, this weekend. LAFC coming to town to Audi Field in the nation's capital, 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Steve Birnbaum will be there, and we expect that all the reveals are done and dusted. But you know what? Maybe you'll get a goal this time again, Steve. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Big thanks to Steve Birnbaum for joining us and sharing Wayne Rooney golf stories. Would not go on record, but I think Rooney's probably the better golfer. That's just my gut feeling. Let's keep it rolling, though. On the line now is Pablo Maurer from The Athletic. He's a staff writer there. He covers DC United. He's got a wonderful picture that you can see on YouTube. Pablo, what's up, man?
Nothing much. How are you guys doing?
We're doing really well. Let's talk Lucho Acosta. I saw you had a tweet that came out basically summing up some interest in him. Of course, as of July 1st, he can start to negotiate with other clubs and then leave on a free in the winter. What is the situation right now with Lucho?
Right now, where it stands, I think Lucho's people and DC United are scheduled to get together in about 2 weeks and try and sort of hash out a contract extension. Obviously, as you said, his contract's up at the end of the year. As soon as July 1st, he can start sort of actively negotiating with other clubs and sign a pre-contract. DC are obviously super keen to get him re-signed, that'll ensure that they get a fee even if he's sold down the line, in 6 months or a year, 2 years. But obviously it's a tricky situation because Lucho may want to leave. It's just sort of like everything's up in the air right now. So we'll have to see what happens. Who's
interested in him? I saw you said teams from England, Saudi Arabia, maybe France, Turkey. I mean, that's a pretty big swath.
Yeah, it's got a pair of how would you say, Ligue 1 teams. Sorry, I'm not a French expert. A mid-table EPL team. One of the French teams I can tell you is Lyon. Obviously, it was previously reported that Fenerbahce, a Turkish club, has been interested, and he does have interest from Saudi Arabia too. I think the big money here is coming from the Middle East. The rest of the offers I think would be salary-wise comparable to or a little bit more than he makes with DC. But yeah, I mean, I think the interest is only going to escalate here the next month or two. But certainly he's drawing plenty of it.
If he's going to re-sign with DC, what does it have to look like? What is it comparable to for DC United to try and keep him in MLS?
Well, the last I heard, I had a source who told me that what DC had really offered him at the end of last year, beginning of this year, was about $8 to $10 million over 4 years. So you're looking at $2 to $2.5 million. I think, in my opinion, man, that number has to go up. Obviously, we all sort of know what happened with Lucho and PSG at the end of the window in the winter, and I think even just being associated with a club like that has probably driven his value up. I think that's the source of a lot of his external interests as well. Lucho also gave an interview to a French outlet a few days ago where he straight up said that his agents are still talking to PSG. Obviously it's sort of silly season stuff. He could just be leveraging. You don't know. We don't know. I can't verify that that's correct or how serious that interest is, but he's certainly a wanted man.
So if he wants to go, DC United are going to be at a tough spot. Does that mean that they would consider maybe even selling him this summer, despite the fact that they have Rooney and one of the league's best teams, and it might hurt their trophy chances? Could they just say, you know what, we got to get something, we'll sell him and reinvest?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where, look, this is just my opinion. I think they have to move him if he's determined to leave, and obviously he's got to approve whatever transfer happens at the end of the day. But I think obviously you have to get something for him. And if somebody comes along, offers you, $3, $4, $5 million, which is a decent amount of money on a player that's going to be out of contract in 6 months, I think you have to take it. I mean, I personally have, I'm pretty comfortable with where the team is at, even without Lucho. I think if they move him, if they're active in the summer transfer window, add a couple of pieces, I think this is still a team that could make a pretty deep run into the playoffs. Now, having said that, it would be a huge loss. I mean, and not just tactically and on the field, but Lucho is obviously a huge fan favorite in DC. He's the first, he's a little bit of a throwback in that he's sort of reminiscent of an Echeverry or a Moreno, these Hispanic players that sort of a big segment of DC's fan base has been kind of yearning for years, So if they do move him, that's one thing. If they move him, I think that makes sense from a business perspective, and you sort of have to, but they damn well better replace him with somebody,
A lot to mull over in the nation's capital when it comes to Lucho Acosta. Such a big piece, but there are some external factors that DC United got to grapple with. Follow Pablo's work at The Athletic on Twitter, where he has an incredible feed at MLS IST, IST on the end of MLS there. Pablo, thanks for joining us, man.
No problem. Take care.
Big thanks to Pablo Maurer. Always good to hear from him on Extra Time. What'd you think?
So he said, and you mentioned it, Lucho Acosta can sign a pre-contract this summer, which means he can sign a deal with the team he's going to go to the following open window, which will be post-MLS season, and DC United will get no money for a sale. He's gone. It's his decision to do that. So then the question becomes, and Pablo mentioned, will they sell him if they know he wants to leave and he doesn't want to re-sign with DC United? Now, if he signs a pre-contract, he still has to play the rest of the year for DC United. You look at that attack, they're one of the best in the league. You look at that team overall, they're one of the favorites for MLS Cup. So on a pre-contract, a guy who's available for that, you're not going to get $6-7 million for a transfer fee because all the teams out there know that they can just sign him for free and that there's no one really negotiating against them because a lot of teams are looking at him as a cheap option. They're not looking to lay out $12-15 million on this player. They're looking to get him on the cheap. So if I'm DC United, I'm looking at it and say, how much does a trophy cost? You open up Audi Field. You bought Wayne Rooney for a short-term buy. The guy's not going to be around for 10 years. You are on track to win either Supporters Shield or MLS Cup or both. And if you're in that position, how much does a trophy cost? Because you get his money, and what are you going to do with it? Try and buy players to win MLS Cup. If you're already favorites, why take that risk and letting him go? I think you play out that season. You have to make sure he's motivated, but that's Ben Olsen's job. You play out the season, and you try and win MLS Cup in 2019.
You're nodding your head, Bobby.
That was good. I mean, that was good. I'm not sure he's right, but it was a compelling case. And the flip side to that, David, is if you want more Lucho Acostas, it helps that you move Lucho Acosta to the best place that he wants to go. And it's going to be easier for him to move to the best place he wants to go in the offseason of a European club.
You're saying to build the Miguel and Miron style of saying, hey, if you come here, we'll sell you.
Right. So you're right. The idea of what is the price tag of a championship might exceed the price tag they get with a player with only 6 months on his contract. The flip side is it's not just a one-time situation. They hope to get many more Lucho Acostas, and to get many more Lucho Acostas and to maximize that part of it, they might need to do what is best for Lucho Acosta in this specific circumstance.
And maybe Lucas Rodriguez steps in. We don't know. It's a big decision to make. DC, apparently, according to Pablo, will meet with Lucho's representation in about 2 weeks. In the meantime, they got a big game on Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern, on Big Fox. LAFC in the district for a game between the teams at the top of the West and the top of the East. Let's talk Week 6. Vancouver, LA get us started on Friday night on TSN, 10 p.m. Eastern. I love it.
Friday night, somebody who doesn't back.
I don't get to do anything on Friday nights. Now I have something.
All right,
to kind of
don't depress everyone.
Okay, fine.
He still has friends.
I know, I do, but they don't text me. Some of them are in my neighborhood and they don't text me.
Hashtag dad life.
I know
Weird,
what goes
it just got
on.
awkward in here.
I know.
I'm tracking you all on Google Maps. I want you to know that. Zlatan says he will play on turf. Gregory Vanderweel might sign with the LA Galaxy. That Giancarlo Gonzalez stuff is still up in the air because the Galaxy went and traded for a roster spot. Win now seems to be the motivation there. But for the Vancouver Whitecaps, as we've talked about repeatedly, it's about building something. They're in this rebuild. They haven't got a win yet. They're performing a little better. They got the draw against Seattle. What gets you excited? What makes you happy when you see this beginnings of something for Vancouver?
I'm still figuring that out, Weeby. I mean, we talked so much about it in the season previews about how Vancouver was the biggest mystery heading into this season. There was so much turnover player-wise, a new coach. Like, you really had no idea what the identity of this team was going to be. And I still don't know. You know, I'm watching them and I'm not quite sure who they are as a team. I don't think that they've really figured it out yet. So I don't know.
Yeah, every game's an opportunity to know just a little bit more. What do you guys know?
The kits.
The kits are sick.
Really nice.
Vancouver always kills it.
Yeah, that's true. If we're talking about players on the field, there's a few that I like. I'm not going to say one specifically because week 1, I was like, this guy I love. Week 2, Weeby's like, this guy's my guy. We'll get to that later. Or do you want to go first?
No. You go ahead. I don't want to be accused of stepping in front of you.
So I'm going to say Ali Adnan. He just came over from Iraq, left back. He started against Seattle. Seems to be a game changer from the fullback position, which is pretty rare in the world, but we're starting to see in Major League Soccer, teams that play with their fullbacks high. He's going to be a piece that a player that will be mentioned later by another person on this, is going to love using. I don't think he's lightning fast. That's not what it is, but I think for that position, he's big, he's strong, he's got skills with both feet, and I think they're going to be able to use him to change the shape of the field a little bit coming from that left back spot and start to attack through that wing. Mr.
All right, I'll go next then. He hasn't been the starter. When he's gotten on, Joaquin Ardaez has been awesome.
Joaquin Ardaez.
What'd I say?
I don't even
Not
want to repeat it.
You said Yoki.
I didn't say that?
Nope. No.
Those aren't the words that came out of my mouth?
They weren't. I don't want to throw myself off, so I won't repeat them.
I overthought it, but he's been great. Smooth left foot. God, when those left-footed players get on the ball like that, they are so graceful, so fun to watch. He hasn't quite looked up to MLS pace in all the transitions, all the focus, all those little points. But when he's gotten on the ball, he's been fun to watch.
Absolutely has. Like the Kyle Larin rumors are interesting as well. You have Freddie Montero up top. You had PC Giroux playing in the wide spot because Jordi Reyna was coming back from international break. But the guy that nobody was ever talking about, and certainly Dave never mentioned once on this show, Wangenbaum, he has been incredible, and he is.
Oh, is that your guy?
That's my guy.
Wait, what team does he play for? He's on Vancouver? I didn't even know that.
I know.
Yeah.
You learn something every time you listen to this show, Dave. But he's been incredible. Silky smooth. He is one of those that maybe isn't going to get the sort of press that other young stars, cough, cough, Paxton Pomykal, are getting right now because of where he plays, because of some of the language stuff, because he's new. But he's a guy in 2 years, 3 years, we're going to be pointing at Europe saying, yeah, he got his start. He did his thing with Vancouver, and maybe he was one of those building blocks to help the project get off the ground.
Guarantee here, pass of the year is going to be from him. He might be the best passer in this league.
I like that, guarantee. I like it. All right, it's that time. It's the great ESPN Plus.
That might be.
Yeah. Hey, well, when it happens, I'll claim it. I just want you to know.
Yeah, that's true.
I said back on Extra
about
Time months ago that he was going to win this thing. It's that time. It's the great ESPN Plus Game of the Week draft. I'm going to give you the first overall pick, Bobby Warshaw. Don't squander it.
Well, of course, I'm going to go Orlando City Soccer Club.
Of course.
Hosting the Colorado Rapids. Thank you very much.
Felt a little like a reach.
No.
Sell us.
Andrew, I've just really enjoyed, I shouldn't say I've enjoyed watching Orlando. I've been impressed. Last year, they had the 6 straight wins, and they weren't nearly as good as the wins. This year, they haven't strung together wins, but they've been better than their results. They've been solid defensively. They've been dangerous on the break. Dwyer and Nani are fun to watch together. So I am looking forward to watching Orlando City.
All right. Dave, you have pick number 2, I believe.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be a bit more obvious. It's going to be Philadelphia FC Dallas for a number of reasons, 2 of which are Brendan Aronson and Paxton Pomykal, but a number of other reasons. And I highly recommend everyone go to fcdallas.com and check out. They put out a video of Luchi Gonzalez's first 3 or 4 games and a lot of audio of him pregame, halftime, postgame, talking to his team, talking to them in between games. Just you can see his energy. You can see how he wants that team to be built. It's a young team. He talks to them like it's a young team, but he's very family-oriented and values-oriented. I've known him for a couple of years. I'm obsessed with Luchi Gonzalez, and this video is like, he brought it to Major League Soccer.
Bring it, boys, bring it. He mixes back and forth between Spanish and English, and it's just incredible.
And he also makes the game about more than the game. I love when coaches do that. Guys, we're not just trying to go get 3 points today. We're trying to build a family. We're trying to get fans engaged. He makes it about more than just scoring goals, which is always cool to see.
And one of the comments going into the Colorado game, he says they're going to hate playing us. Like, that was him. He's like, we're going to go out there and they're going to hate us. And you can see it embodied in the team. And on the flip side for Philly, I said I wasn't worried a few weeks ago. Then they went out and they worked FC Cincinnati. I feel pretty good.
What are you taking? Number 3 pick?
Can't believe you guys didn't take New England Columbus.
Oh, wow.
Duh.
Yeah, that's a steal at number 3, right?
No, I mean, there's some interesting storylines here. New England, it's been a tumultuous start to the season for them, but they had a nice win over the weekend. Be interesting to see if, their sort of like come together moment is working.
Does it last?
Mentality. Was it mentality the word that we talked about?
A lot of mentality talk. Yep.
Let's see if that mentality and culture, just continues to go on the upward trajectory there. And then Columbus, they're right behind DC, even on points right now. Quietly. And they're a team to watch. I think defensively they've just been so good. And, if they can go on the road, snag some points, make a statement, we'll see.
Look, I'm going to just pour out a little bit from my poison chalice to Harrison Offal, as well as Joseph Mora, both guys with broken jaws. So hope they heal quickly and get better and get back on the field and feel all right. Of course, I'm drinking from the chalice, so I'm Toronto, Chicago. Want to see Alejandro Pozuelo. Just let me watch Pozuelo. Let me watch Josie do work. Let's see if that back line can perform. And on Chicago's side, this is a good opportunity to, again, prove something. Get another win. We'll see if they can do it. It was a little bit ugly against the Red Bulls, but ugly doesn't matter.
A win is a win.
Yeah,
but you have to think against Toronto, there'll be chances.
All right, before we get out of here, a new tradition as we preview the weekend. Bobby talking whatever soccer thing he wants to talk. So, Bobby, what are you watching?
Thank you, Andrew. God, this is exciting. So I got 3 quick things. Going off your Chicago point to make the transition, how are the Fire going to play now? Nico Gaitan has arrived. Schweinsteiger played center back. Are they going to play some kind of 4-3-3? Or are they going to try and play some kind of 3-5-2? How does Veljko Paunovic set up that team? Number 2, Dallas versus Philadelphia. The way Philadelphia defend is 2 strikers, but they don't start those strikers central like a lot of teams do. They start them wide and funnel the play into the attacking midfielder. They funnel wide in the same zones that Dallas likes to push their defensive midfielders to get the ball. How does that impact how Dallas plays? The third one, NYCFC. It sounds like Abair, the new striker, will be eligible. He will be able to play. How does that impact their team? I was personally fine with the way they were playing without a true striker. Clearly, Dome Trent was not. So how does that impact the way NYCFC line up?
Those are Bobby's soccer things. We're going to break. On the other side, talking soccer for all.
Are you watching the games or just looking at the stats? Email the show at extratime@mlssoccer.com tweet at Extratime, or text the Hot Take Hotline with any questions or reactions.
Nedum Onuoha at centre-back. Really interesting pickup there by RSL. The defender with real serious pedigree. Onuoha, who wears number 14 for RSL. 7 years with Manchester City, 7 years with QPR.
Back now in Extra Time, driven by Continental on the line now. You might have guessed it, RSL central defender, Nedum Onuoha. Nedum, how's it going?
Very good, thank you. Do you know what? I'm looking forward to having some highlights to have on this next time I'm on.
Oh,
not a lot going on with that bunching. But
no, you actually couldn't see, but they showed a bunch of blocked shots there.
Right, okay. So that's what I said. I'm still looking forward to some highlights anyway.
We will get to RSL in just 1 second with you here. I wish this wasn't where we had to start, but it's like a broken record here. Racism in soccer, racism in society. It reared its ugly head again this week in Italy and in Montenegro before that. You've been there before, Nedum. You've been outspoken about the issue in the past. How does a week like this make you feel?
It's sad, to be honest, because the way things are, overall things you could say are getting better, but it seems like it's only getting better from a legal standpoint. But culturally, in many, many places, things are exactly the same. And this is when it starts to raise its head. And in some ways, it's a good thing that sport is around, because we can start to see where the real problems are. Because if that game wasn't televised and if this wasn't being discussed, then things would just carry on. But this is society we live in, unfortunately.
This is personal for you, and I wonder how much of our audience knows your story. I read some things going back to moving when you were a kid and then 11 years old on the field. I mean, help us understand what it was like for you moving to a different culture as a young age, what it was like for you to experience racism, not just in society, but as a professional soccer player.
It was hard, from when I was a child. So I was born in Nigeria, and I came to England when I was 5, 6 years old. And in that time, myself, my family, we were the only black people within the neighborhood. So people didn't really know how to react with us. So a lot of people were doing really negative things, saying really negative things, and it was a different time. It was England in inner city England in the 90s, which wasn't a great place. But I survived that. But then as the years went on, although it was less common, it would still raise its head, and it would raise its head. So when I was playing for England under 21s at one point, I was getting abused from Serbia fans in a different country. And then to talk about Montenegro as well, when the country first gained independence, my under-21 team for England, we actually played the very first international that Football International Montenegro ever held at home. We played in that game. A few of us were abused by certain members of the crowd, but the big thing for me was after the game, we went onto the field to do a warm-down, and as we were coming back in through the tunnel, I remember vividly myself and Joe Hart, the former Man City goalkeeper, we started to hear some monkey chants. So I turned around in the tunnel, and it was 10 soldiers. It was 10 Montenegrin soldiers with guns standing in the tunnel, and they flanked together as soon as I turned around. So I looked at it and said, well, if this is this place, how can you find change when the people with authority who are supposed to help and protect, this is how they feel and this is how they believe and this is the norm? And then here we are, 10 years on, and Montenegro is still managing to surprise us all.
One of the saddest parts of the events of what we've seen over the last week, especially in Italy with Moise Kean, was his teammates and their lack of support for him. You're in a situation like that. Take people into it, help people understand what are the actions you would have liked to have seen from your teammates. What did Joe Hart maybe do? What are the things that staff or other fans in the stadium can do to try and stamp this out, but also try and help the people who feel vulnerable in those moments?
I think you need support. I don't think people can necessarily fully empathize, but they can still show sympathy, and understand what could possibly be going on. Like the stuff with Juventus recently was, in my opinion, was a disgrace. I can't say that I know every single fact from it, but the stuff that's being delivered to the public at the moment, it's unacceptable for someone, say for example with Bonucci, someone as senior as him, to more or less say to a player, if you want to, it's almost like saying if you want to be successful in this league as an Italian, you just can't be yourself. You can't be black. Moise Kean is a black player, black Italian. He's scored goals for Italy, scoring goals for Juventus, but he's 50% to blame because he reacted to what was being done to him based on nothing more than his skin color itself. For me, it's completely unacceptable. But unfortunately, at times, the culture in that country can be like that. And one thing that which always... So I don't believe myself to be a negative person, but I know that change is going to be very, very slow. Just because when it comes down to it, in some of the places where racism and discrimination overall occurs, it always occurs when the majority is such a vast majority that they don't see the difference between right and wrong. So when everybody think, when the majority think the same way, is it wrong? When you say to someone, that's racist, you are a racist, they say, no, I'm not racist. But then who are they to say whether or not they are based on the way that they've just treated you? Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And that's unfortunately the downside in places like Italy, places like Montenegro. Society doesn't necessarily represent minorities in a way that it probably does do in places where there's more diversity.
Americans have suffered this as well. I think back to, Oguchi Onyewu as an example and some others in Europe. And, I think we have to look at ourselves as well here in the United States and North America and acknowledge that we are absolutely not perfect. The slogan here in MLS is Soccer for All. The tagline is Everyone is Welcome. I really love this initiative. I love the message that it puts out there. I hope that everybody can identify with it as well. But there's a larger picture here, Nedum, and that's that subconscious racism that I think I've seen you be quoted on. And it's not just soccer, it's society. So when you look at this, when you look at these issues, when you talk to people, when you give people advice, how do we break the cycle? How does the cycle get broken? Slowly, sometime.
So the way it works in America, in the USA, I'm not 100% sure, but the way that it is back in England, for example, the younger generations are now finding themselves in classrooms with people from lots of different backgrounds. They're finding people as they grow older who are, who aren't necessarily all just straight. You say you can have more gay people, then more women, LGBT is more represented. It's being more discussed. So the younger generations are now living in a world where it's normal for people to be different. Whereas I think for a lot of people in my generation and beyond, they weren't necessarily raised in that environment. So that's where a lot of the subconscious behavior seems to come from, because the way that they were raised, this was this and that was that. Like it or not, people are very resistant to change. So I just hope for myself that, raising my children, I'd raise them to understand that everyone is equal. Everybody is different, which is the beauty of society. But you shouldn't treat somebody like this and someone like that, because, as I say, it's a nonsense. And it's a really, really big topic for me, because I hate sometimes the way that it can solely be associated with sport. Sport can take it to the headlines, but unfortunately, if it's the same over here as it is back in England, the headlines for this type of thing exist on the back pages, and the back pages change every single day depending on whichever sporting event is coming up next. So very quickly it can go from being the biggest thing to just being something that was said previously, even though it's something that it transcends sport, it is society. And for as much as it is getting better, the bottom line for me is it feels like it's legally now you can't discriminate against people, but culturally it's very easy to, and it's very easy to in the majority of places around the world, which is unacceptable in my mind.
It's awful to have this conversation. We thank you so much for taking the time to do it. I love what you said. Everyone is equal, everyone is different, and that's the beauty of society. Do what you can in your own communities. Do what you can in your own fan base. Do what you can in your own team out there. To those listening, Soccer for All, check out the campaign, and I think listen to what Nedum is saying here, because it's important stuff. Let's talk soccer from London to Utah. Nedum, that's quite the cultural shift, man. That's different. That's different.
Yeah, it's a bit. You could say that. Yeah, it's a bit different, but it was exciting. So where I was in England, I was playing. I just finished. I think I was at Queen's Park Rangers for 6.5 years. I was captain for the last 3 years. And I just fancied something a bit different, because I could have stayed in England, could have stayed in Europe, but because I've watched the MLS for years and stuff like this. So I said, well, if I get the opportunity to do it, then it's definitely something I'll be looking to do, especially because my kids I've got 3 children, and they're all at a good age to be able to go somewhere and it not really affect them in a negative way. And being lucky enough to play soccer as a professional, if from when it's done, I don't know if I'll be able to travel the world in the same way that I've managed to do now. So it was, once RSL came in, I just did some research about the club, and it was a no-brainer. The people are really friendly here, and the club is a progressive club. Obviously, we're not a big market team as such, but I think on any given day we can compete against anybody, and that's the type of thing that I want to be a part of.
Nedum, you mentioned coming from QPR. What were the first things you noticed about playing in Major League Soccer in terms of the tendencies on the field or the tactics or just the way the game is played in this league?
initially, this was an issue. I've changed my thought process on it a little bit, but it's similar to what Brad Friedel was saying just a couple of weeks ago about there not being the same sort of pressures. And I think at times that can affect decision-making, can affect the professional, because I see lots of players playing over here who could very easily play in some of the best leagues in the world for some of the best teams, no problem. But I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but in other countries, when you know there's a relegation or there's a promotion, like with relegation, you're playing for a team and you know that if you go down, your wages will be cut in half, staff will lose their jobs, you won't be able to play in this place, you won't be able to play in that place, and you feel the pressure as every game comes by. So here, the chase of the playoffs is exciting, but it's almost like if you're not near it, then you're just playing. It's not social, obviously, but that's kind of how it feels at times when you watch certain games and so on. But with time, I've noticed that has changed, especially to experience the start of the season when everyone basically starts from zero. So the desire is more there, but as the seasons would peter out, it just didn't quite feel the same. So I suppose that was the biggest thing, and because it can affect your decision making. There's certain mistakes that people make mistakes all across the world playing the game, but there's certain mistakes which perhaps would be made more here in this country than it would in other places based on the circumstances. Because say when I was in England, and I lived in Manchester, I'd play for Manchester City in the derby against Manchester United, and if we lost the game, I'd be very reluctant to step out in the city for the next week, because that's how fierce and passionate the fans are, and that's how fierce the rivalry is between those two sides. So it's not just a case of Saturday and done. It's like it's your life, the people that it consumes. And I played in Sunderland as well, and it was the same thing playing against Newcastle. That game there, for them, it didn't matter where you finished in the league as long as you finished above this team. But if you didn't, they would let you know about it for the rest of your life, basically. So, it's missing that bit of, I don't know, maybe it's just the word consequence, but I'm not sure yet.
One of the big pieces we talk about around Major League Soccer is youth development. RSL has massive academy. They've pulled in players from all over. They've pushed players into the professional team, Bofo Salcedo, Justin Glad out with an injury. What have you seen from those young players in terms of your experience watching youth development and where they're at and what they're working on and what maybe you've discussed with them?
So coming into a new country, coming into a new locker room tends to be would have been more tricky if I wasn't one of the elder statesmen within the team. And coming from where I've come from, being around so many academy players, it sort of rejuvenates you because you have a role, I believe, to try and help them, to try and guide them on the field, off the field, teach them what it is to be a good professional. And when I retire, I want someone that I've played with to have had a better career than me, because I've helped them understand what's important and when's important, instead of them having to figure it out for themselves when it's too late. So to be in a dressing room full of good players, good young players with desire and a willingness to learn, that's one of the real benefits of being in a system which basically feeds from the academy. I think sometimes you can have, I've played in dressing rooms before where you've had a lot of older players and they don't really have that same sort of desire, but these are a bunch of guys, as I say, who are good players, surrounded with a sprinkling of experience and some foreign talent as well. And they all want to get better. They all doing everything they can every day to be the best they can be, to try and maybe one day play for the national side. That's really, really refreshing. So being here with this academy setup is incredible.
10 p.m. Eastern, Seattle hosting RSL this weekend. You can watch that one on ESPN+. Nedum, you're playing for a legend, both on the field as a personality of Mike Pecky and now off the field as a head coach. Did you know what you were getting into? What kind of coach is he for you? How does he compare to some in your past?
I've had so many coaches over the years. I've happened to be at some clubs which have had real big turnover.
He played at QPR, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I've played at QPR. I think I had 7 managers there. At Man City, I might have had 5 there before I left. So I've seen a few personalities and a few things. But with Mike, I spoke to Bradley Wright Phillips, who had him at New York Red Bulls, I believe. So I had a bit of an idea what it was going to be like before I came. But then I've come, and he certainly is passionate. But I think he does well overall, just because the group is so varied in some ways, because he's got players who he's played with himself that are still in the side, but then he's got people who are probably young enough to be his son. So to be able to manage that and try and put out a successful team, you can't just speak one language, if you know what I mean. You have to be able to communicate with everybody, because sometimes some people get messages through Fortnite, whereas others like to get it through the mail. You get where I'm coming from. So, yeah, I think he's done well. He's galvanized the group, and with the coaching staff that he's got around him, it's a really good place to be. He knows what he wants, and I think as long as we can manage to do it and keep 11 players on the field, we've tended to be quite successful.
Language is one of Mike Pecky's fortes. Nedum, thank you so much for joining us here, for sharing your perspective, for helping some people understand a really important issue in society and in sport. We wish you the best of luck, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to speak to you.
All right, let's go to break. On the other side of the mailbag, we'll be right back.
Are you watching the games or just looking at the stats? Email the show at extratime@mlssoccer.com, tweet at Extratime, or text the Hot Take hotline with any questions or reactions.
A lovely touch again here. Rodriguez going inside. That one's going to fall. Carvey! 2-0! Raul Rui Diaz strokes it home. And the Sounders, the building of last week, aren't they? Simply rampant to begin this one.
Back now on Extra Time, driven by Continental from the AT&T MLS studios in Midtown Manhattan. That's weird. The bump had the Portland Timbers trying to figure out away goals, and then it went straight to a Seattle highlight. Who's the producer of this show? Anders R. Who does he generally support? Where's he from? Oh, Seattle. Weird. Very strange.
His mother's also in the studio today.
Yeah, Chris.
Anders, can you bring Chris out here?
Bring her in.
Bring Chris in.
Hold on.
Chris is not here any longer. She was just here.
Yeah.
Where'd she go?
Oh,
she went to hang out with your girlfriend one-on-one.
Oh, breaking news on Extra Time.
Whoa.
Anders has made the mistake of a lifetime, sending his mother to hang out with his girlfriend. These are the mistakes that are made when the pressure is on. You know what? We're fitting to all this Seattle talk.
Yeah, because now we go right into it. We had an email, a first-time emailer who chose not to give their name, which is beautiful, but they are from England, and they're heading to Seattle this week on holiday. They'll be at the RSL game versus Seattle on Saturday night. Other than that, they wanted to know anything soccer or non-soccer related that they should do while they are in the city.
Tacoma Defiance looks really cool. Just want to throw it out there. I want a hat for that. Bobby, if you have any advice, you have to do it all in your English accent. I love that you dropped it in on Nedum with that as well. You have anything, mate?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. Anders says go to the Space Needle. It sounds kind of lame when you say it, but he says it cannot be oversold if it's a clear day, so never. In Seattle, it's a great place to be.
Whoa, you also get these really cool souvenir cups that you could,
nice.
They're like big Space Needle cups.
Yeah.
They're
you
kind
would
of
be.
fun.
I think you would be into You're a good tourist. Pike Place Market, he says. So go to that nameless English person.
I will give you Discovery Park, great park, Ballard, which is like the brewery area, so you can wander through breweries, and then Il Corvo. I don't want to give away people's secrets, but it is the best pasta spot I've ever been to in the United States. It's open for like 3 hours. You got to get in line before it opens. It's downtown. It's only open on weekdays. It's only open if the sun is in its fourth quadrant of the moon, but it's delicious.
Wow. Pink Door.
That's a restaurant as well,
yes,
right?
It's outstanding. And some of the best cocktails that I have ever had.
And you have two people you should trust, Susannah and Jillian Sakovitz, who can attest to those cocktails. I will also recommend Mercer Island. It's where my guy John Betton, former producer of Extra Time, was raised.
If you go by, they'll make you grill vegetables.
Yes, they
Guaranteed.
will. Oh, bring the,
no matter
bring the
what.
grill out. It's a beautiful thing.
But you have to bring Chivas USA gear.
Did we just spend 2 minutes going over sightseeing places in Seattle?
we did.
And if anyone has any other cities they'd like to know advice from, we could do that on the show
I'm going to be in
well.
Minnesota. I'm going to be in Minnesota next
I'm going
week
to be there
for the
too.
opening. Well, we are. Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah. Hello.
So
Hello.
we're
It's
trying
a
to figure
tandem.
it out. So hit us up.
And if,
let us know.
If anyone from England's going to Harrisburg on vacation, let us know as well. Jason in DC, this one's for you, Bobby. They want to know an injury like Joseph Mora, it happens near or around your face head. How do players typically deal with the mental block that might come from going 100% into a tackle or up for a header after an injury like that?
It's really hard because you can be physically fixed, but you can't mentally get over what that feels like to have your jaw broken. So one of the things that happened to me is I got 20 stitches in my forehead when I was 17 playing with the national team down in Brazil, and I didn't head the ball for like 6 months after that. Finally, I just took a ball out to a wall, threw it off the wall, and like just let it hit my head a few hundred times before I was willing to head it. So Joseph Moore is a pro at this point. He's like a real, he has a paycheck on the line, so he'll figure it out harder. But it's a great question. There's no good answer except you have to slowly work through it.
sometimes you watch sports and you're like, I could have played pro, and then you hear Bobby say, like, I would have done that twice. I've never done anything a few hundred times in my entire life, except maybe eat
hummus. Yeah. Just gonna say that.
Speaking of injuries, our guy Dunord, who you will see.
Hey, Bruce, what's up, man?
Brucio in Minnesota says, what are the odds that Chicago Fire kick the C out of Alejandro Pozuelo on Saturday? We've seen him be lightning. We've seen him be amazing. Now he's about to get the MLS treatment.
You play Mo Adams just for this. Dax McCarty's out here like, I got new boots just for the kicking.
Well, Andrew, one thing we talked about mass confrontations. How did nobody from NYCFC kick him after the Panenka? Your first PK in this league, you don't Panenka that. Good for you. It's cool. Somebody from NYC has to make a statement. I hope somebody from Chicago does.
I mean, the flip side, if I'm NYCFC, I'm not sure any of my guys, like Josie steps to me, I'm not sure. I'm
That's
just
a
saying.
very good
I'd
point.
say there's some more intimidating players on the other team, and they're also working you over. I mean, I think you're probably right. You probably stick one in, but
Ryan from Juarez wants to bring us back on the RSL train in a negative way. He says, I don't want to spray negativity, but he is. But Mike Petke, it's been 3 years now. All we hear are sound bites of blaming officiating. Guys, it's starting to become a broken record. Should it be getting hot?
I don't know about that. I don't think so. It's so early for them, and you knew it was going to be a little work in progress. But they've got to find some sort of like clear understanding, and also results will be good. But you've heard a lot of coaches come out and say things about refereeing. And Bobby, you and I do instant replay every week. I certainly don't always agree with pro, so I can understand where some of these coaches are coming from sometimes. But I also, like for instance, on the first goal, can't understand why you don't mark Steve Birnbaum. So it's never a single narrative in that spot to me. Like there's always something. There's always a give and take, and you can disagree with the different referees. But if you're going to disagree, also acknowledge that it's like one of the hardest jobs and one of the most thankless jobs in the world, and you would never actually want to be one. And so for the guys and women who do it, I mean, just applause. Applause to you from me, because it is an extremely difficult, thankless job.
That was a great pivot from Weeby.
Yeah, I know.
Weeby, a great pivot, Andrew. Well done.
And not what Weeby would be doing if you were officiating his game. He would not be applauding you.
No,
he
probably
would be
not.
Yelling at you and complaining the entire time.
I've gained a real appreciation doing instant replay.
Chris from Connecticut said, I attended the Crew versus Red Bull game, the opener in Columbus a few weeks ago. My buddies and I were all covered in Red Bull gear. We were expecting traditional away game vibes. However, no less than 10 Crew fans came and thanked us for making the journey, offering us local brews, warm chili, had an awesome away trip, and met some great people. Hats off to the Crew faithful. He wants to know what fan bases have been most hospitable to all of us on our travels. Back on the travels.
I would say the Crew faithful. I've never tailgated before a Crew game, but I have before U.S. games, and that's one of my favorite experiences in soccer. LAFC last year, their first home game, they really welcomed us with open arms.
Yeah, Atlanta has been very, very lovely to me, as has Kansas City. They're
Cincinnati,
always
shout out to them.
so solid. Yeah.
Bobby, does anybody welcome you, or is it just curse words?
What, dude? What?
I don't know.
I didn't think about it until
so
I read
quiet.
the question, and I got worried that Bobby was going to have like a fans always yell at me type thing.
No, I never leave the studio. You guys travel, I stay in the studio. So I don't really have a
He'll
good
be
answer
in
to it.
Dallas next week.
Yeah,
back
Jacob,
home
Frisco.
in his old.
Hang out with the Beer Guardians.
That statue better be up. If it's not up, I'll be angry.
Hey, before we get out of here, I have
Do
one
they
last
scarf
thing.
your statue pregame?
If they're going to start,
tradition?
I believe they're going to start soon. Yes.
Please subscribe to the podcast. Please follow us on YouTube. Do all those nice things. Listen to the show. Tell your friends about it. Help us, I don't know, get bigger. Nedum said he saw us on YouTube, so that's cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah, before we got on. But go vote in the Webbies as well. El Tráfico, Birth of a Rivalry, which you saw right here on MLSsoccer.com and on MLS channels, is a finalist for a Webby Award. ESPN Films, YouTube Premium, Players Tribune, Retro Report. That's who we're going up against. So head over to webbyawards.com. Please give that a vote. Shout out to Michael Milberger, who also helps us with this show. Kyle Green, Anders Arhus, the other PAs that we have that gathered so much footage for this. It's an awesome, awesome piece. You enjoyed it last year. Go give a vote at webbyawards.com. Anything else before we get out of here, guys? Just thank you.
Enjoy MLS this weekend.
Yeah, here we go. Another week. Week 6 coming up. All the coverage at MLSsoccer.com. Thank you to Steve Birnbaum, Pablo Maurer, Nedum Onuoha. We're out of here. We'll see you on Monday.